Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another episode of Never Far From Home, powered by Beauty Unis. Two things unite a team: how you play and how you look. Custom jerseys, player proven, player approved. Visit them online at beautyunis.com. Never Far From Home is a project of mine taking me all around the United States and Canada, and potentially worldwide. I'll be hosting this podcast in each stop along the way, highlighting the community of the rink through storytelling, and I'm going to have guests on who have been impacted by their time within the rink and will share their stories. You can find more information on my website at neverfarfromhome.co, and feel free to leave a review wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and of course subscribe. My guest on this episode is Jake Oakley from Sheffield in the UK. We'll talk with him right around the corner, but first a quick shout out to our sponsors, helping to keep the truck on the road and letting the stories unfold. We'll be right back with Jake on the other side. As promised, we've got Jake Oakley on the line. A pretty fun day for me, Jake, because obviously the beginning of it wasn't that great. But, you know, you're actually the second interview from over in the UK that I've got. I just had Liz Stewart on. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's doing a nice little work in the sports psychology realm of things. And so we were able to talk some hockey. And now, of course, with you, real excited that we were able to meet up after Warren gave me your info. So thank you for your time today, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolute beauty, right? Warren, the goalie, man. We'll try to forgive him of his faults because he is a goalie. But I want to start it off right away, jump into when it was that you first became involved with the community of the rink.
I mean, I've been a hockey fan since I was a kid. Our local big team, Sheffield Steelers, a friend of mine back when I was, I don't know, in single figures anyway, and he had a spare ticket one day and basically just said, "Oh, do you want to come along?" And I had no idea about the sport. I was sort of blown away. And it was so back in the 90s, so it was kind of like when everything was a bit louder, a bit cheesier, a bit kind of, everybody was dancing a bit more in the stands. And as a young kid, I just sort of got kind of like blown away by that, really. You know, like it got me hooked straight away. And I remember I went back and raved about it to my dad, and managed to convince him that we should go down and check out some games. And yeah, been going ever since, basically, you know. So it's and I love the sport. I love the people that are in it, and yeah, well and truly, it's encapsulated my whole life basically now.
That's awesome, man. I want to ask, when you first, you know, got involved, it was more from that fandom standpoint. When did it transition to playing for you?
I mean, I always, after, as a kid, you know, you sort of see these people, you're impressed, you're blown away, they sort of become your heroes very quickly, kind of thing. And I knew that I wanted to actually try and play, but I hated ice skating. So our old rink, back in the day, we used to have this old sort of barn type place that was above, well, it's above a casino now, but yeah, it was like upstairs. It was all rickety and horrible, and all they had was these like really nasty figure skating boots with like really stiff blue plastic, and the laces were all knotted and chewed to bits, like pulling them tight with like razor wire. It was horrible. And as much as I wanted to skate, I came off like almost every session because my feet just didn't seem to fit in these boots very well. And although I kind of learned how to skate, after about an hour, I was shot. I was done. And, you know, so like there was no point in me kind of pursuing it at that stage. You know, like, you know, my dad brought me and my sister up on his own and things like that. So we didn't have a lot of money. So like the last thing we wanted to be doing was kind of throwing loads of money at something that I was going to just sort of not pick up because I couldn't even stand the skates at first, you know.
Yeah.
But the love of hockey kind of has been with me ever since, and same with my father as well. You know, it's been really good because it's been a great way that we were bonded. You know, we both really passionate about hockey and the community that it involves. You know, and so instead of me trying to play hockey back when I was a kid, we used to just go around all the rinks sort of, and we worked our way down. Like as the season sort of finished with like the seniors, we'd then like pick up the second division. Then like the next team down, and then their season was finished. So in the end, we were like halfway into summer, and we were just watching like under 10s skating around like headless chickens, and it was amazing. We loved it, but it was just kind of time at a rink, and we loved that kind of that community feel, So, but then, like I say, I picked it back up skating and things like that. I could skate, but like I say, it used to ruin my feet, and I think actually, as I've got older and been able to like buy my own skates and things like that, it kind of dawned on me that actually like I had a bit of a weird shape foot or something, because now, like, I mean, I know technology moves on, but now because of all the difference of width and lengths you can get, and you get them customized and baked, and these were all things that I had no idea of when I was a kid. You told them roughly what size you were, and you were told to wear some thicker socks or something like that.
Yeah, hope for the best.
Yeah. So like I can skate, but I still kind of refer to myself as being a bit of an ankle bender when it comes to it, because my passion far exceeds my actual ability on skates to play. But that being said, I've done a couple of different charity events and things like that where I've played and propped up the third line,
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's so awesome, man.
I love it though, and what kind of small segue is that even though I kind of never really got into it as a proper team when I was skating in that way. My partner's younger brother, we used to play on the drive, just pair of sticks, and we're kind of basically playing ball hockey. And that's my involvement. I've been kind of involved in lots of different elements of hockey, veering off into sort of. I even tried roll at one stage, but he's now part of the Great Britain ball hockey squad and things like that, and that kind of comes from me and him and his family playing on his driveway kind of thing. And I used to quite like it, because back then I used to be able to mug him off a little bit when I was stick handling around him. And, being bigger, you could like give him a slight hip check, knock him out of the way and things like that. But now I've got no chance, but yeah, great time.
So I want to ask about your dad. Was he kind of introduced to the sport just with you, or did he have a little bit of a basis with it before you got involved?
No, really, it was because Sheffield had back in the day when we first started going, the team had literally the Sheffield Steelers had only just sort of started about, so and they were doing all sorts of kind of free promotions. They were going around schools handing out free tickets and things like that. So I think that was actually how, because I got a free ticket from a friend, and then a couple of the players came to visit our primary school. So I got a couple of tickets then as well. I can't remember whether I got those first or not, but memory fails me with that. But yeah, we kind of got into it together, but it was because of this friend that basically had a spare ticket. And then I think me kind of raving about the whole experience kind of thing, even though I had no understanding of what was actually going on. And even when I was going with my dad sometimes, because I didn't understand the rules and things like that, and neither did he, to be fair, in the early days, I was also kind of more entertained by the mascot that they had. I was like, look what he's doing now. And, and he was like, yeah, but the game's on. And I was like, yeah, but I quite like what he's doing as well, So, yeah, it was distracting, but it was just sort of loud and noisy, and I loved it.
That's
awesome.
And it's something, right? Because oftentimes on here, obviously there's the connection of the rink. There's the connection of this thing that everyone I have on, we love. But I've also trended towards getting the human side of the story, and one of those major components is family. So when you're talking to me about, your dad and getting into it together, I'm sure you've reflected since about what a great experience it was to be able to share that with him.
Oh, amazing. And we still do it. Obviously COVID times at the moment have knocked our whole kind of hockey experience. But, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but because I now run a para ice hockey team, but it's actually all inclusive. My dad actually helps me with some of the off-ice stuff there, and he still plays on the team, and he's like the oldest player that we actually know of in the world that actually plays in league games. And we've kind of like kept him young because of it, sort of thing. He's one of these guys that doesn't know his own age really, but that's what makes him brilliant. He's a superstar in his own right. And yeah, so I still get to have all these brilliant on and off ice experiences with him. yeah, it's amazing. I couldn't ask for more, really.
So let's get into your sister. You said you had, is it just the two of you?
Well, I've got half brother and half sister as well. But yeah, growing up, it was my dad, me and my sister. Basically, my slight segue, but it kind of does tie in. My mum died when I was 5 of breast cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's okay. It's one of those things. It's a terrible thing, but it is one of those things, unfortunately. But that ties me on to, I spoke about the charity games very briefly there that I played in. Well, that was part of what I was doing. There's a couple of different tournaments here in the UK. One in particular called the All Stars tournament, and basically it's lots of different charity teams. They're made up of people like me who are sort of angle benders all the way up to sort of people who are kind of semi-pro almost. Like you fitted on different lines of ability. But in there they had a breast cancer team that raised for breast cancer charity here in the UK, and I was lucky enough to be able to captain that one year, and yeah, because it's a subject very close to my heart, we absolutely smashed our total, and slight ego tapping here, but the record that we got nearly £20,000 just for that one charity.
Wow.
And no other team has done that since for breast cancer. So I'm quite proud of that statistic. I'm waiting for somebody to beat it so that I can kind of basically say, I think I want another crack at it. See if I can see if I can go again. But that's whether my knees will forgive me now for playing.
Of course. But
yeah, so that's what I say. Like growing up, money was tight. My dad works for himself and kind of had to build his own business around sort of picking me and my sister up from school, and just if ever we were ill and things like that. It's thankfully me and my sister never really were ill, and I think probably some of that might have been because we knew that we couldn't really afford for my dad to take the time off. So we're just like, even now, I mean, my missus will tell you that I'm one of these people that if I say I'm ill, it means I'm really not well. I just carry on, and just get on with it. We couldn't really afford to do a whole lot, so it was it was lovely to be able to spend the time when we could go to hockey and things like that. And to be honest, that was one of the really nice things about the Steelers when we first got into that, is because I would say they were giving away these free tickets. An absolute lifesaver really for them trying to build their fan base. Admittedly, they've got more than their fair share of their money back from me and my family,
Yeah.
But it starts with those free tickets, and you get people involved in the sport, and lifelong passion effectively, because of it. So stick tap to that. It's a great idea back in the day. Yeah, I loved it.
That's awesome, man. All right, so I know it's been a little bit broken, but forgive me, right? It's a jigsaw puzzle, just kind of piecing it all together.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's a great. But I want to see, when did you get into the para side of the sport? Because obviously, like you mentioned, that's something that is near and dear to your heart. 1, and 2, you're running the team. So, I mean, I want to hear all about this. But first, how did you get involved?
So again, I'm afraid it's a bit of a segue kind of story, but back in 2005, I think it was, I got knocked off my motorbike. Basically, I was still back at college. I'd just been out sort of shooting all day around town. I'm a photographer, or I was back then. I don't really do it anymore, but back then I was studying photography, press photography, worked for newspapers, and I'd just been on assignment in the Sheffield City Centre. And I popped home I popped to the supermarket actually just on my way back home, and got a load of stuff, had my camera equipment on me. But because I'd just been to the shop, I had like my bike lock around my chest, because there's no way like over my shoulders, like wearing it like a Chewbacca's belt type of thing, like that kind of thing. It's like, it's only down the road. I was pulled out onto the main road and just pootling along, and all of a sudden a woman out of the side road saw a gap on the other side going the opposite way, tried to take it, never saw me, and I just sort of grabbed the handle as you do in sheer kind of like, oh crap, kind of thing, like and just grabbed the handles, and it locked the bike up, and basically me and the bike, we sort of corkscrewed. It kind of rolled over me and my back, and and I hit the car, and the bike got sort of jammed underneath it, and it was one of those things that was like, I can remember it so vividly now, but at the same time, like it was sort of like everything was in slow motion and haze at the same time, but I can remember it so sharply. Like even just like afterwards, like, I picked myself straight back up, kind of thing, just in sheer adrenaline, kind of thing, and I could just hear people screaming like, "Oh, don't get up, don't get up!" And I was like, you know, and I kind of took myself off to the side and basically like sprawled out on the pavement myself, and I even remember I was laid out, and it was just starting to get some pain, you know, across my body. It was just starting to come through, and the woman that was in the car, she got out, and she was obviously in a bit of shock. She didn't sort of say anything, and I was just like looked up to her from the floor and was like, "Are you okay?" kind of thing. And you know, it was just one of those things. But because of my love of ice hockey, I was already aware of para hockey. But then this motorbike accident basically stopped me from being involved in other sports. I'm one of these people where I can turn my hand to pretty much anything, and I'll be pretty average about everything. You know, if you want me to play basketball, I can make hoops and things like that. Can't jump, can't slam dunk, but I've got accuracy. I can shoot. But you know, football, I was okay. You know what I mean? Like, but a bit of a larger kid when I was growing up as well. You know, so like speed was not my element, but you know, I had accuracy. I could kind of, you know, I had a bit of skill. I used to surprise people with how good I was for a fat lad, basically. You know. And but having the motorbike accident, it sort of, you know, I get loads of niggly pains and aches from it now. You know, like it sort of shot my knees, my back gives me jip, elbows not good, my wrist, especially my right wrist, it's a right pain. You know, but hey, better than the alternative kind of thing. I can still walk away, and you know, and it doesn't affect me that much in everyday life, you know. But basically, several years later, and I was already aware of para ice hockey because I've been watching it on the Paralympics and things like that. When that was around, I think it was Vancouver. Me and my missus, we love all winter sports anyway. It stems from the ice hockey side of it, so we love watching skiing and bobsled and all those kind of crazy. Everything is ramped up. It's so much more extreme when it's the Winter Olympics. So love it. So then when the Winter Olympics was done, and then the Paralympics was on, and it was like, oh, this is brilliant. You know, these guys are amazing. And you know, and then the para hockey was on, and I was like, oh yeah, it's free hockey. You know, which we don't really get much in the UK, especially back then. And it was like, so when the para hockey was then on as part of the Paralympics, it's like, let's get this watch. You know, we absolutely loved it. And then a couple of years after that, I caught wind that Sheffield were going to try and establish a team. And as soon as they were kind of like, it was like, it felt, I don't know if it was, but it was like the early days of Twitter and things like that. And I sort of caught wind that it was kind of going to happen. And I was like, I want in. I want to kind of at least give it a go, because I'm not really very good at being able to play hockey. So I'd love to be able to at least give it a try or show some support. And I got in touch, and there was a couple of, for some reason I couldn't make it down for the first one, but then I was involved really early on, and almost as soon as I walked through the door, they basically was like, well, we do need a secretary. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, if that's what you need, then let's do it, you know. And I love the sport. And then, you know, I kind of sort of saw the people that were involved, and admittedly, like, you know, up to that point, I hadn't really had much cause or reason. I didn't really have any friends with any disabilities and things like that. Not because I was kind of choosing to avoid it or anything like that, but just because my circle just never went that way. And then all of a sudden, I kind of found these amazing people that you know, loved hockey like I love hockey, or were curious about it at least, and was trying to find this sport that was for them. And it's like, well, yeah, no, this is brilliant. We can kind of, you know, and everybody has their own story, and it just sort of tied in amazingly. And then as soon as we kind of got involved, and we were kind of borrowing all these kind of rickety old bits of kit, and we sort of set about setting grant paperwork in place and things like that to try and buy our own equipment, and then we kind of signed a constitution and officially had a name, and so all of a sudden then everything started coming together, and as things kind of progressed, people come and go from the scene, and I sort of stuck with it, and kind of when there was a chairwoman at the time who first was there, when she kind of said, oh, I can't do this anymore, I haven't got time, I was like, well, I'll give it a go, know, and I've been doing it ever since. But I kind of always had this theory that actually Sheffield, if done the right way, and I think part of that is because of how long I've been in the sport, watching. I've been like a photographer for teams. I've sort of seen it from inside and outside of different team elements. I was like, we can make this something special, because the sport as a whole, although is much bigger in Canada and America and things like that, it's still very much under the radar, across the world. And I suppose you'd probably argue still in places like Canada where ice hockey is so king. Para hockey, there'll be a lot of people that won't have seen it, won't know about it, won't know anybody who plays it, things like that. So, but I kind of saw this opportunity, even though we're just in Sheffield, and it's kind of considered, ice hockey is a minority sport in this country. So you talk about para ice hockey, and then people go, oh, I've got no idea, I'm lost, and you're like,
it's a percent of a percent.
Exactly. And it's like, right, our mission is to change this. And I've always had this mantra as soon as we started. I was like, the Sheffield Steelkings will be the shining light of this sport. I want us to be sort of the biggest, the best, and the ones that kind of basically promote the sport in the roundest possible way we can, to kind of be that beacon of light that basically says, we want people playing. And the beautiful thing about the sport is that you don't have to have the disability to play. Although it's called para ice hockey, it used to be sledge hockey, or sled hockey as the Americans know it. And it's there for everybody. So it doesn't matter whether you're male, female, able-bodied, disabled. Basically, you get into the sledges and you play. And it's the ability and the want, the drive of wanting to be part of a team and wanting to play. And, people understand what they're getting themselves into. It's a fast-paced, physical team sport that does come. It's hard hitting, it's great, but people know that as well. So when you get somebody who, that has a disability, that wants to kind of show that they're not made of glass, because I think that's the world's perception on people in wheelchairs or amputees. They go, oh, poor them, isn't that sad? And it's like, no, these guys will kick your ass. Watch this, and that's what we try to build in Sheffield. I mean, it kind of ties back to Warren, obviously, you had on your podcast a while ago. He was going through some stuff with his knees, and reached out, and we're like, yeah, man, no worries, get involved. Like, just because you've got a knee problem, like, it doesn't class him as being disabled, and it wouldn't make him eligible for the Great Britain national team, but he's a club player. As long as he wants to carry on being a goalie, well, we're happy to have a goalie on our books. It's like, come on down, let's like be involved. And that's the sort of the beauty of the sport, is that actually you get in a sledge and everything else falls away. It's just about playing. It's your ability about being on the ice and being a good teammate, and want that the desire to win is very key, but it's also just about the desire of being in a sledge and being part of it and being something new, and being part of this beacon that I want to kind of promote the club with. And and it's amazing because we're also the youngest team in the UK. And we've been around like 6 years now, but we are now by far the biggest, where we're branching off into 2 teams to try and give everybody the chance to be able to play. So we now have like a sort of senior squad and a development squad, and that's a testament to that mantra of being shining light. That we want people to play, and it's about exposure. The more people that know about us, the better, because the more people that want to get involved.
Let's talk about some of the early days and the challenges, because for you, like you said, you came in, you were just I don't want to say just a secretary, but you got involved immediately, not just in the facet of playing, but also with the organization, and talk about some of those early days, some of the challenges you guys faced and gals faced in terms of trying to grow it.
Well, it's difficult because, like most things in life, everything revolves around money. So, and disability equipment is generally a lot more expensive than regular equipment, So we were kind of scrambling around. Well, how do we get people into sledges? But if we have too many people, where are we going to get the sledges? How are we going to fund those? How are we going to do X, Y, Z? And so, and to be honest as well, one of the other problems is we were brand new, and like I say, I kind of came in with this fresh-eyed approach of like, right, this is what we can try and do. And it was met with a bit of resistance from existing players and teams around the UK and things like that. Oh, we've tried that doesn't work. And I was like, I've not tried it. I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to try and make it work because you told me it won't work. So I'm going to try and make it work. And I love people telling me that things aren't possible because it just makes me go and try and prove that they are, So in the early days, it was it was cash to be able to pay for ice, pay for equipment, and then it's about knowledge. It's about, how do we spread the word of this sport? How do we try and get new people involved? So in the early days, it was kind of like I was telling all my oldest and dearest friends kind of thing. It's like, you ought to come down and give this a go. One of my oldest friends, he used to come down in the early days, watch us train, watch us play these games where we got absolutely annihilated. And I was like, mate, you're sat in the stands like almost every week. Why don't you just get in a sledge and be involved? And he was like, I can't do that. And I was like, mate, come and try it. I'm sure you'll love it. Still with us now, loves it. And like I say, and off the back of that, my dad plays, my missus plays. I've got 3 of my oldest friends playing. And it sort of starts with that. You kind of that building blocks out of how do we do it, and then like I say, once we kind of started kind of realizing how we were going to try and get money and things like that, and then kind of wanted to think of even bigger ways to make the sport more accessible. And one of the things I'm really, really proud of, we got some money from the National Lottery, which is our lottery over here in the UK. And it was for a bid that I put in, and I called it Learn to Sledge. And basically, the idea was that we got a handful of sledges, extra sledges. We bought all the equipment, and basically it was a complete give-it-a-go kind of session. The money that was left paid for, I think it was about 20 weeks worth of free ice. So for 20 weeks, we could promote that absolutely anyone could come down and just jump in and give this sport a go. So it really just meant that we just had to kind of just thrust it in people's faces. And off the back of that, people responded. And, and social media being what it is as well, you kind of we got some people down and you're like, have you enjoyed it? They go, yeah, we loved it. And you're like, right, please share the fact that you've loved this sport. Even if you don't want to come back and do it again, you can say, oh, you've done it, it's ticked off your bucket list, thank you very much. But just share how much you've loved it. And we were just getting these reviews on Facebook and things like that. It was just kind of it just kept building out and out and out. And it was, reaching more and more people. And, from those Learn to Sledge sessions, we had some people stick around. We had other people who were oh, I know somebody who would love this. Can they come down to your next one? And I was like, yeah, of course they can. Yeah, no problem. And it built and built and built. And it's kind of, I really do believe it was the kind of the cornerstone of where we are today. And off the back of that grant and the success of that program, because the likes of that had not been seen here in the UK before, So again, it was that thing of new team, new idea, let's give this a go. And we actually won an award off it as well. The National Lottery actually recognised what we did with that money in that program to get people, say male, females, able-bodied, disabled, just that integration coming together to play a minority sport. And we were recognised, and there's a very glitz and glam ceremony with lots of nice celebrities down in London that we attended, and it was it was incredible. And it was one of the real true starting points of our journey to success, in my opinion. It really cemented us.
Were you the chair at that point, or were you still in a secretary role?
I was chair at that point. Yeah, I think I was secretary for about a year,
Okay.
and that was in 2014. So from about 2015 to now, so for near enough 5 years, I've been sort of doing the sort of, well, I mean, I say chair, but to be honest, that's where it starts, because it's chair, it's coach, it's playing, it's social media, it's lots, it's grant paperwork, that kind of thing. It's you just do, to try and make it a success, and that's but that's kind of what I knew I was signing up for, So and with it, I've met some incredible people and been able to do some amazing things. So it's I wouldn't change it for the world.
And so I want to ask this: when you look at just the growth of it, obviously there's excitement, but talk to me a little bit about what you're looking forward to in the coming years, because obviously COVID has thrown a wrench in everybody's life and plans, but that's not going to be around always. So what do you want to see out of the Steelkings organization?
So from a Steelkings point of view, this last year it should have been the first year of our development team, which we called our B team, and then jokingly played on words by calling them the Steel Stings as opposed to the Steel Kings. So the Steel Stings, we wanted to launch them and let them have a year, and they should have had their first year by now, but unfortunately they've not actually kind of started that kind of process of playing league games yet. So the important first thing is retention. We want to make sure that the players we have had don't kind of slip away. So we've been trying to be very active on sort of social media, try and keep talking to people, keep kind of doing different things just to kind of keep people interested. The next thing is we want to sort of obviously get back to playing together as a team, as a club collectively, and then have those two teams playing each other, launching the B team or our Steel Stings into the league and getting them officially going, kind of thing. And then for me, the big plan for the future for the Steelkings is juniors. I really want to push the sport forward in terms of getting kids playing. Again, with a view of sort of able-bodied and disabled, things like that, because unfortunately our setup at the moment in the UK, we don't have a junior system anywhere. None of the teams have it, and and I say problem, but because it is a problem in terms of our national team, is that we find people who have been looking for a sport, and they might now be sort of 20, 30 years old. They come into the sport, it takes 2-3 years to kind of get them really into the sport and start really building their speed, strength, things like that. And like over in America and Canada, there are kids that have been playing since they were like 5. So they've already got more experience than any of our guys, and aren't even as old as them now. We're
right.
trying to like put them into a national squad, and because of that, the national squad sort of suffers because we find these people a bit too late, unfortunately. So we need to start younger. We need to get the passion in for for the kids to kind of get involved, love the sport, build up their sort of skill, speed, strength, but the love of the game. The love needs to start when they're young. And in the same way that it was me when I was watching the Steelers when I was only a young kid, that's what I want for the Steelkings. I need to see the kids coming down and just getting in a sled, and it doesn't matter whether they win, lose, whether they've spent half a session on their side, but the point is that they're playing and loving it, and they come off with a big smile on their face, and if we can take that and nurture it and grow it, everything will develop outwardly anyway, and it means that we'll have future stars of the sport. I mean, from a club point of view, it means that when the kids become good enough, they just instantly fit into the Stings and the Kings, and there's that kind of natural progression through to a senior squad. But anybody with a classifiable disability, we want to be pushing into both the men and the women's Great Britain squads. So then they can be representing it at national level and international level, really, I should say, because the goal is to try and then get GB back into a position of being really good at this sport in like the Paralympics, say, and things like that. And again, the better we can kind of get the Great Britain national squads, the more funding opportunities there will be, because obviously when you can show a sport is doing well, there's naturally more money available for it. So with more money comes more publicity, comes everything else. So it becomes a rolling stone in that we will then find even more people and more teams will establish, and they'll be able to use our blueprint of, oh, well, this is how they did it, so why can't we do it? And we're like, yeah, you can do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't, because you can. So juniors really is my big passion and hope trying to go forward. Like I say, I still need to give the Steelkings some breathing room in terms of I need to allow that to kind of sit there and grow and develop for a year or so anyway. I don't want to be spread too thin. That's the danger. You can have all these ideas. Oh, brilliant! Let's go bang, 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 and then you lose what you were first trying to start out to do because it's got muddled. So now we've got the Kings established. The Stings are kind of getting there. We just need to let them go. Juniors will then be my next big project. And yeah, that's something that I'm really looking forward to be honest. And I know a lot of the players will also love to kind of see juniors getting involved. I know instantly I've got a group of guys that will be turning their hand to coaching straight away because they'll just love seeing the kids' faces light up and things like that when they sport. So yeah, that's my next big goal. But that's the new thing. Everything else is kind of let's continue and make it bigger, make it better.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, Jake, but imagine 20 years down the road watching the Paralympics with Great Britain having, success. And then all of a sudden you being hopefully a piece of that, being able to kind of look back at your younger self and be like, all right, even before now, right, where we're having this discussion, you had mentioned how you're like, hey, there's more hockey to watch. So you're partaking in watching these games beforehand. That would be a pretty special occasion.
Yeah, honestly, that would be amazing. That's and that's the dream. That's the goal. I mean, I've already had that success from a personal point of view, and I don't take anything away from the play. The players do it themselves. But the beautiful thing is that now we're starting to get a few of our disabled players into the Great Britain squad. Because they've kind of come up through the ranks, and now they're getting there, and we've got a couple more that are kind of that will make their way in, and all of a sudden, actually, we're like, oh yeah, it's really coming together, and beautifully as well. I mean, again, slight segue. But with the Great Britain women's side of things, that is the newest. That's another kind of thing that's really new. Traditionally, this game is a man's game, and it shouldn't really be seen like that. Like in the Paralympics and things like that. It's only the men that really play, and they're allowed. They're allowed women in the squad, but it's seen as the man's tournament type of thing, and that's wrong and backwards really in this day and age. So behind the scenes, we're now really trying to push getting more disabled women playing the sport as well. And I was very fortunate that when this kind of the talk was first starting to turn to getting more women playing, I was invited to be one of the coaches for the Great Britain women's national squad as part of the development camp out in Czech Republic, and that was amazing because we came away as bronze medalists from that. So all of a sudden, actually, I mean, it was a development camp. It was kind of in, but I don't want to knock it down because, like I say, I also kind of I don't want to make it sound bigger than it was, but I also don't want to knock it down because effectively we came away the third best country in, that attended that, and that was like, oh, that's brilliant. Like I've kind of set a bit of history there in terms of being one of those first coaches to go out, help the women to promote this sport. Because again, I just want to see more people playing. So I'm very passionate about getting everybody I can playing this sport. So the more women playing, para ice hockey, the better for me. And if we can kind of continue that bronze medal type thing going forwards, then wow, I mean, that's brilliant, because the reality is the women para ice hockey in Great Britain is more likely to get to the Paralympics than the men, because there's so fewer teams. So if we can establish a program here now, if they get that green light, which is what the sport is working towards, is getting women playing a women's tournament alongside the men's, well, all of a sudden, if Great Britain have got a squad, we instantly become medal contenders because of the lack of countries doing it.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I've watched the American women and the Canadian women, and they are phenomenal. Phenomenal. We've got a long way to go to catch up with them, because their program's already established. They're just doing wonderful things. But at least we've got a foot in the door, And
absolutely.
And now we need to start building. And again, it kind of comes full circle into clubs that are like the Steelkings, and obviously the other that if we can start getting more people playing, and that kind of rolls out when more people hear about it, and then we get more disabled women involved, and instantly they know there's a chance of getting to the Paralympics. I know that for a fact that if I turn around to average Joe Public and said, hey, do you want to be on the biggest stage of the world playing this sport? I'm fairly sure that a lot of people are going to say, hell yeah, let's go, and that's what I want, again, just getting people involved, get people playing, and let's kind of shine a light on the sport. And, I think as well, the more women we get playing the sport, the more women will then get involved. You can't be what you can't see, as they say, so if other women can see women playing this sport and go, oh, wow, they're doing it, I definitely can do it.
Yeah.
So yes, you can. Yes, you can. Get in touch with a local team. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Got some goosebumps, man. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. I'm very passionate about ice hockey generally, and then when I say para ice hockey, it's just become a whole new passion for me. And I love being able to sort of. I don't want to make it sound cheesy, but you do change people's lives. This sport. It gives people a sense of freedom and movement and family and belonging that they perhaps didn't have or didn't know they were missing, and especially the Steelkings, that is one of the things, despite all the sort of success we've had and things like that, we started out and we remain to be very much about being a family. We will help each other. We don't knock each other. We're trying to everybody is welcome, and that is one of the big successes, to be honest. On ice, people can see trophies, they can see goals, they can see programs growing, but it's behind in the locker room, behind the scenes, where actually it's the family element that makes the team strong, and the family is what keeps it all going, keeps the faith kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're not training at the moment because of COVID. But people know it's coming. They just need to hold on a little bit longer. And, people are kind of already starting to kind of spur each other on, where they're like going, yeah, there'll be ice soon. I'm going to be going faster than you, and they're like, now you're going to have to keep up, and so people are already starting to turn their attention to kind of getting themselves a bit more back in shape, and because they know they've got trophies to defend, and, they've got personal goals, and, some of my players want to make the national squad, and others don't. Others want to just come down and be part of a sport where they're considered, where they can see their family again. They all they're doing at the moment is working, and they hate it. And so they want some love life and laughs again. And
yeah,
and that's fine as well. That's the beauty of it.
It's inclusive.
But it's exciting that it's so inclusive. It's brilliant. Yeah.
All right, I want to ask. This has been awesome. So it's actually, unbeknownst to me, become like this really big piece of my heart and just what I love. I've got involved with this organization, and I should probably put you in touch with them just from a connection standpoint. It's called Dog Nation Hockey Foundation. They're out of Colorado, but they're building a 3-sheet facility in Colorado One will have 2,500 fan capacity, so they can host international games, and they're doing an all-inclusive thing. You would love it. Like, I'll get you the information. They're going to have clear boards on the benches because it's for some sled hockey. They're going to have accessibility things. Like, I'll get you details, but it's really a cool thing. And I talked with them, and that kind of like stirred the beginning of this. And so listening to your story has been great. And obviously I want to hear some more, but I'm going to step away from it. I say all of that, and I'm going to step away from it to get some personal stories from you for a second. And I want to go into that Czech Republic trip, if you would, and just talk about some of, the cool experiences you were able to garner. I'm a Czech kid myself. My mom's Czech, so of heritage. And I know it's a beautiful country over there, but the hockey also in both realms, right? The para and the standing hockey is all really fun to partake in because they love it there as well. It's a culture. So tell me some of your favorite stories from that trip, if you would.
I mean, obviously you can't not coming away with a medal. That's one of the big things that we can take away from the end of that tournament. But one of the funny things before we even made it there was that we very nearly didn't board the plane. So we rocked up, and I can't remember which airline it was now, but they were aware we were coming as like, there's a couple of able-bodied people coming along with quite a few disabled people, and we'd split into two groups. One was flying from Gatwick, one was flying from Stansted, I think it was. I can't, I don't retain that kind of information. I just know I was there. But we were kind of like, oh yeah, we've got priority. They're going to help us get through. This is great. All our oversized bags are going to get checked, and everything kind of started going. And time was ticking by, and I was like, the airline aren't really helping us here. And that's how it went up. I was like, yeah, well, how do we get the priority? And I was just aware that time's kind of ticking by, and they were like, oh yeah, no, you've got to go to the other side of the airport now to get on a plane. And I was like, yeah, we've got like 7 people in wheelchairs here that we're going to try and and all the other kit bags and kind of medical kind of stuff that you don't want to just put in the hold and things like that. So it's like right. There's only one way for this, and we basically like just became like this giant snake going through an airport. And it was like there's me like pushing from the back, and everybody else had hold of the other person's wheelchair, and we were just like absolutely bombing through the gates, kind of going through past all the shops and things like that, and like shouting at people like, "Oh, get out of the way!" And it was just like us kind of like veering all over the place, like the front person steering, and it was crazy. And we finally managed to make it to our gate, but by the skin of our teeth. And they, at that end, they were kind of like, "Oh, where have you been, guys?" And you're like, "Yeah, no, you didn't help us at all." Like we've just had to like really bust a gut to get here. And then the next thing, we, because some of our ladies, even though they use wheelchairs, it's because they can't kind of go far. But some, so some can transfer. There's like they can kind of limited movement. Well, one of the ladies, she really couldn't. But the only way to get onto the aircraft, because they didn't have it connected up to the terminal building where they had the ramp. It was like stairs going up to it. So the next thing, it's like there's a couple of us sticking behind, and we get taken off to this big glorified van. And the only way to get her onto the aircraft was in this big van that like kind of rose up like a lift. And they basically said, right, we're going to have to get you into this now. So she kind of slide transfers. What is it? And it's like, it helps you kind of get down the aisle. And basically what they did is kind of cranked her up, and she ended up looking like Hannibal Lecter as they basically got like wheeling in. But by this point, because we were kind of late, because of kind of getting to the gate and them not really helping us, the plane was full. So all of a sudden, there's just us kind of come around the corner to all these hundreds of people staring at the front, and we're all like, "Hi guys, sorry for holding up the plane. Not really our fault." And then Hannibal Lecter gets wheeled in basically in this thing at the front. Everybody's right. And they're like, "Oh my, I'm sure this can't be right." Yeah, and we're like, "Oh God, this isn't the way to start, is it?" But hey, we made it, like I say, by the skin of the teeth, and all the equipment made us as well, which was great fun. But that was one of those great kind of we can laugh about it now, but at the time there was some real panic going on. We were like, are we even going to catch this plane, basically, trying to like bomb it through before the gate closes?
That's phenomenal.
That was good fun. Just basically, we had people literally having to dive out of our way because we weren't stopping for them.
Right.
It was like, move, move, move. And just like, it was like a classic scene from an old comedy, where people like literally like were throwing themselves out of the way just so they didn't get their toes run over by wheelchair users. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
But also it was great because it kind of started to cement the team dynamics as well. Like it was just one of those great shared experiences that we could suddenly go, yeah, that happened to us. I always love that. I love that story.
So when you got there, then, and maybe hopefully there's not another story. I mean, obviously love it, but hopefully there was a little bit more help on the other side of things for you. But when you did get there, how was the culture of the folks that were participating in the tournament? How inviting was it? Because again, this is a pretty inclusive sport that we're lucky to partake in.
Well, it was great because it was a para ice hockey kind of development camp. Everybody was there with the same common goal, and the whole purpose was the benchmark of getting women playing the sport. So everybody was there, on the same wavelength. And the person who organised it, called Carolyn, she was phenomenal in kind of securing the money and getting it all sorted and getting this ball rolling. Genuinely, without her, I'm not sure whether the sport would even be quite where it is now in terms of kind of developing the women. I mean, the Americans, the Canadians are already kind of well ahead of everybody, but Carolyn kind of basically opened up the door for everybody else. But everybody was really welcoming because of it, because just a common goal. Mm-hmm. What surprised people was just how many wheelchair users and things like that there were. Like the hotel where we were staying had 2 lifts where you could just about squeeze 2 people in wheelchairs. But when you think there must have been about 40, 50 wheelchair users. So meal times were a nightmare because like lifts going up and down all the time, and all you could ever do was squeeze 2 people in their chairs. And if you had one going up the other way and the doors would open, you go, oh, bloody hell, it's full. And then so your wheelchair users have to wait, and meal times were a nightmare. But by the end of the week, it became seamless because everybody seemed to know how to just sort of flow. It shows that there was a lot of people that were prepared to kind of make it work, and it was great fun. Like we had to get shuttle buses between the hotel and the rink, and honestly, because of obviously wheelchairs take up more space than their shuttle buses, so they would have seats. So all of a sudden, you've got people sort of sliding from the wheelchairs out. And at one time, I think one of the buses didn't turn up, or it had gone half full. Like it had gone on this one bus. So there's me and a couple of the Canadian coaching staff kind of thing that were there, and we're just basically like, we need you all to remember which wheels yours are. And we were just like undoing wheels, stacking them all up, and it just chairs and madness. And to get there was like, say, me and this Canadian coach basically acting as human shield for wheelchairs not falling over like an avalanche kind of thing, just like taking out more people. So it was like me and him just kind of like holding on this moving bus where the bus driver was crazy, throwing it around corners. And it's like, and then of course we have to attach them all back together at the other end, kind of going, like, whose are these wheels? Whose are this chair? I'm trying to like click it all back together and then get everybody off a bus and into a rink. And but like I say, amazing times and amazing people that are there, and lifelong friends now, really. That and that's what you kind of can't take away. So it's brilliant. But I mean, I love the Czech. I've been Czech Republic. I've been back a couple of times, and I'm a big fan. The people are lovely there.
Talk to me about what the experience was like to be able to be in the ear of some of those. You mentioned one Canadian coach. I mean, to have some of these folks who were likely there participating and to be able to just go back and forth with them about, how you can continue to grow it when you do return back to your club.
Well, it was great because you could watch and learn, and you could ask questions. And I mean, some of the, American Canada, because because of the way that the development camp was kind of set up, there was also some more sort of senior games going on, where it was Canada, USA, and a collective of Team Europe kind of thing, trying to kind of, so the best of the rest of the development group were kind of against these teams. And obviously America and Canada, like, let's say, they're doing it, going hell for leather kind of thing. It was brilliant. And everybody else was kind of like hanging on,
Yeah.
but it kind of kept in, so everybody was friendly and approachable, but also they were like, no, we're out to win this game against our rivals, so it was quite good because you got that kind of, you got the integration and people were prepared to give the time and knowledge, but also you sort of saw the real side of what will hopefully come for GB when they reach the Paralympics, of like, right, well, game time, they're taking this seriously, they might be friends with them off the ice, but on the ice it's serious business. And so it's great to get a whole scope of that. And of course there was other coaches from all over the world really that came along. Like we had people from Australia, Finland, where else? Sweden, obviously the Czech coaches were there. Where else? France. We had people from France there, one from Croatia, and it's sort of like, so it was great to have this huge integration. Obviously there's some separation because of language barriers and things like that, but it was great to be able to kind of hear different people's experiences, and what it also kind of showed to me as well, because it shows that actually able-bodied people have a really nice place alongside disabled people in this sport, in that nobody was out of place really, because if it was actually all just disabled people there, people would struggle to get on and off the ice, in and out of sledges, carrying equipment. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of the disabled people kind of just get on and crack on and do it. But there are still people where they're like, oh, well, my chair's been moved all the way over there. Can somebody get it? Or I don't suppose you can just grab this bag for me with my back's playing. Or, I don't suppose you can give me a push, can you, while I'm holding all my stuff? And it's like, yeah, cool. And I think it was really nice to kind of just sort of, again, break down those barriers. To sort of, it wasn't like two different camps. It was great that everybody was so integrated. And, like last night of the camp, everybody getting absolutely smashed on Czech spirits and things like that, and it was just carnage,
Oh yeah,
it was great fun. It was great fun.
Did you have any Slivovice?
Yes, actually, because the bar were doing it, and I'm not a fan. I'm not. That does not tick my box there. But no, it was funny. Just some of the players getting absolutely smashed on local wine, beer, and spirits was great to see. Loved it.
That's
it
phenomenal.
really breaks down barriers. Yeah.
Right on,
we
man.
did have one last from a different country, and I'll not name names or anything like that. But we left. She was like, "Oh, I'm drunk. I'm going to bed," and then we were going to go to bed, and we must have been about half an hour afterwards. And we basically found her in the lift. She'd not made it. She'd not made it up. And she just decided to lay out on the couch. And then trying to convince her to get back to her room was not happening. She was crawling back along the thing. I was like, I know this is undignified, but I really feel like I need to carry back to your room. And it's like, no, I'm not having it. Crawling, but she's loud, banging on doors. You're like, this is not going to go well. So good, so funny.
That's fantastic. All right, I've got a few what I like to call staple questions where I'm going to fire one off. So take a listen to it and then jump right into your answer once it's all finished playing. A little piece that's pre-produced for you. It's time for a staple question brought to you by Beauty Unis. Custom hockey jerseys and uniforms, united as one. Visit them online at beautyunis.com. Get your next team order in and look the part. Casey and the whole gang at Beauty Unis are on a mission to represent Herb Brooks' idea that the name on the front means a hell of a lot more than the name on the back. Without delay, through all your time in the community of the rink, what is your favorite uniform, worn or observed?
Is that favorite uniform worn or observed?
Yes, sir.
Is that, I couldn't quite catch it. It was a bit crackly at my end. So, but I mean, obviously, I can't I can't not say the Steelkings. I mean, but
Hold on, Jake.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta no.
Right?
I gotta say, I saw a really slick jersey. I think you guys are coming out with on Facebook or something. I mean, it was a good looking threads.
Was that a blackout jersey that we knocked together? Yeah, that was something that that was the project for myself, and I just thought, I want to have a mess around. I want to try and make something, and in the end, I ordered one. I was like, oh, this has come out even better than the rest of the team are going to want a piece of this. So I put it out, and to be honest, it's gone really well actually. Like surprisingly, so I wasn't expecting so much uptake on it, but it's amazing. So if I can't say Steelkings, because I do obviously love our stuff, but I mean I am a hockey jersey collector as well, so I do have quite a few hockey jerseys. I love them for different reasons. That's the difficult thing.
You can give me a couple.
Couple.
Combine it with what your reasoning is for it.
All right. Well, so for my sins, and this will probably get a bit of booze down your microphone, but in the NHL, I'm a fan of the Nashville Predators. I mean, they are doing terrible this year. But I love their logo because in the grand scheme of NHL logos, I feel like that one's got a bit of grit in. I've always been a fan of an underdog, and back when they first came on the scene and things like that, I always loved their style of play where they kind of felt like they never gave up, they were battling hard, and I kind of miss that a bit, to be honest, in today's team. It feels like we're kind of missing those kind of nitty-gritty kind of characters, but I love a Nashville jersey. They had a beautiful, I can't remember what year it was, but a beautiful sort of blue version with a slightly older logo. Always like that one. I know they play classically in that kind of yellowy gold one now, but there was a blue version that's one of my favorites. I love, although it's quite a plain and simple jersey, I quite like the Dynamo Riga jersey because of the sort of the maroon and white that they play in. I love their jersey. I've been there, and their fans are phenomenal. It's difficult now. I'm on the spot, to be honest, because I just love to wear a good jersey. So like one of the other, I did a jersey swap with one of the teams in France. They're the Rouen Dragons sledge hockey team, so that they've got quite a nice black and yellow jersey.
No, that's fantastic, man. You got a few good ones in there. So
I tell you what, I'm a fan of Yaroslav Lokomotiv as well, obviously, because I was quite a fan of them anyway, and then obviously they had their tragic plane accident that saw the team get obviously killed, when the plane came down, and so I've got a couple of Yaroslav jerseys. I mean, just because I think they're just like a beautiful kind of, it's almost like a tribute almost jersey,
right.
But I love their jersey because of it. They're quite hard to get hold of over here in the UK. I've got loads of jerseys, and now I can't think of any.
I'm gonna send you a picture here when we wrap up, and it'll be one of your probably new favorite jerseys. All right, just letting you know.
Yeah.
Look to that one. All right, so before I do let you go, I'm going to have to boogie on here in just a little bit, but I've got a couple more questions for you. One such is, when you think about the rink, just the idea of the rink, not one in particular, but the concept of it, what sensory detail stands out to you the most?
Well, I can actually answer this really well because at the moment, because of COVID, we're not allowed to play, train. Fans aren't allowed to watch the games are being played. We've got a couple now on the streaming series that are going on. And back in the day, I used to be a photographer, as I sort of said. And last night, I was doing photos for one of our sort of lower teams called the Sheffield Scimitars. And it's the first time I've been inside the rink for a good few months where actually anything's happened. And you walk in, and although admittedly, because people haven't been playing there much, the smell had gone a little bit. But, you know, like there's always the smell. A hockey rink has that smell of putrid sweat, effectively, that's dripped off the walls. It's just ingrained into the walls, and just the foundations are built on hockey player sweat. But the sound of the Zamboni, the crispness of the air when you walk in, the skate blades when you hear the cutting of the blade on that fresh cut ice, the slap shot and the puck hitting the backboards or ringing off the post. Those are just sounds that you just don't hear anywhere else. And even though it was an empty rink, so doing the photos and things like that, you know, you could hear the players chirping each other and things like that, and that's what I love. And the place where I was doing the photos is also the place where we train and play for the Steelkings. So, you know, it was just nice to kind of be back, and it felt like going home. You know, it felt like you've been on a long trip and you were coming home, and it was, yeah, exactly. And it just, yeah, and that's what it was. It was, yeah. The ice rink is like, yeah, home is where the heart is, and my heart is in a hockey rink, basically. And it doesn't really matter where it is around the country, but there's just something. I love walking through hockey rink doors and getting that chill straight off. You know, like you get hit by that sort of blanket of cold air, and you're just like, yeah, here we go. Something fun and exciting is going to happen, and it's either because we're playing, or because you're about to watch a really good game, or you're going to cheer on some friends that are playing, or I mean, to be honest, even if it's just I'm going down and doing some sledge maintenance or something like that, but just walking in and just feeling that fresh, cold air, hearing the Zamboni in the background with its little siren as it enters onto the rink and that kind of thing, or a goal horn going off, even though I'm in a back room kind of just tinkering away, and you just hear a goal being scored and the fans going wild. I can't wait to hear fans cheering hockey again. I think it's going to be amazing. And yeah, such an understated sound unless you're involved with the sport. But yeah, once we get back on, and what, you know, just, and I don't mean just us, I just mean once hockey gets back and people can go and watch it, you know, it's going to be brilliant to be part of that crowd again. And to, you know, because as we kind of started the show, hockey here is a minority sport. So often the people you know in hockey, you know almost everybody, it feels like, you know, because it's that kind of community. I mean, it's like that anyway around the world. You know one person in hockey, and they tend to know somebody else. Like, obviously, you had Warren, I know Warren, and you had Jimmy, and I know Jimmy. And, you know, and it's like that all up and down the country, where you're like, you know, there's people all over the UK, and you're like, oh, yeah, you know, I can't wait to play against them because I'll see X, Y, and Z. And yeah, that it's going to be so nice when we can finally start getting crowds back in, and you can kind of go up and get, even though you're technically your rival, you know, on the ice, but you go and just give them a hug and kind of go, I've missed you, man. You know, it's good to see you again. Like, I can't wait for that kind of love to come back. You know, that's going to be amazing.
Hopefully, it's not too far away, my friend. Hopefully, it's not too far away.
I hope so.
All right, my man. Unfortunately, I've got a boogie myself, but I think that you and I we need to keep in contact. We need to stay up to date on what's going on with the Steelkings, the Steel Stings. Hopefully, they get their first year in here in short order, but we'll definitely stay in contact. I'll send you that jersey over. But Jake, I can't thank you enough for your time today, man.
Thanks for having me. It's been great to talk hockey with you.
And we'll do it again sometime. Maybe over on your turf. Maybe I just have to talk to enough of you that I'm like, all right, can I come over now?
Well, you've already been talking to enough people around Sheffield. So, yeah, I think as soon as you hit over this way, Jimmy's going to get you involved in a game. And me and Warren will be getting you in a sledge. And, yeah, if you've not tried the sport, you know, if you can get involved with that rink that you were talking about with, you know, Go and give it a try. Go and ask them if they've got a spare sledge that you can just go and get it. You'll be knackered the day after.
I haven't tried it yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. Got to do it and got to talk about it, because the more people that hear it, the better.
Awesome. Jake Oakley, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much. Take care of yourself.
A big thank you to Beauty Unis, united as one. Visit them online at beautyunis.com. The road is a long one, and the journey is my destination. I'm thrilled with where I've already been and the many stories that I've heard. I hope you enjoyed another great episode, and a big thanks again to our guest today and to you, listener. I have met some wonderful people thus far and look forward to connecting with even more as I track down more stories. I'm Vladan Chase, and I invite you to join me next time on Never Far From Home.